All right, we're here in Raynham, Massachusetts at Lauzon's gym, and we're talking to Connor Matthews, nickname Bad News,
Yes,
and
sir.
the Controller. So we got two names going here.
Went by a lot of names in my life, so.
That's good. Currently, he's undefeated, 4-0.
Yep.
And we're going to talk a little bit about how you got here. I remember you from high school. You graduated high school at Coyle Cassidy in Taunton. And you played soccer 1 year.
I did.
And with my son Dylan.
I did.
And I happened to talk to your mother, and she was quick to tell me that you were really a hockey player.
I was, yeah. I was a hockey player playing soccer. So I actually never played. I played dome soccer a little bit growing up, but other than that, I didn't play any soccer. But I was kind of, pretty athletic. So I made varsity actually as a sophomore. And I had no idea what the hell I was doing. They don't have lines for soccer for the offside, so it doesn't work the same way it does in hockey. So you can't just like blow by the person. So I kept on going offsides, and I think they realized that this kid doesn't know what he's doing out here. So
Yeah. Well, physically you had it all going on.
Yeah.
So you did that. You did hockey, and tell us a little bit about hockey.
So yeah, hockey was my number one sport. Like when I was a little kid growing up, I wanted to be a professional hockey player, like a lot of kids in New England.
Yep.
I mean, I was all in, since I started skating when I was 3 years old, always playing.
Pond skating too?
Pond skating, ice skating, on teams, competitive teams. And that was my life as a child. I was just, playing as much hockey on travel teams, everything. So actually I went to high school at Coyle Cassidy because they had a good hockey program when I was growing up, and that's where I met your son. And, so yeah, I was, that was my number one sport. It was hockey.
It was hockey.
Yeah.
So you graduated high school, and you had your first fight very quickly after graduating high school. Tell us about that first fight.
So actually, yeah. So I also did martial arts a lot growing up as a kid, and so when I graduated high school, actually my last high school hockey game, it was playoffs. I was playing against. We knocked out the number 1 seed team in the playoffs, and we were going on the number 2 seed team, and we were playing. I think it was Plymouth South, and they weren't supposed to be that good. Second shift of the game was going in, and I blew out my shoulder.
That was it.
That was it.
And that put an end to your hockey career?
Put an end to my hockey career. It was, before that, I was chasing that goal, and I kind of I felt like that year when I blew out my shoulder, I was just kind of missing all the tryouts for everything going on the next year, the junior teams and all that. So I found myself going back into martial arts to give me something to do because I always needed to be active. So I started training, fell in love with the sport. The next thing I know, 2 months after my high school ended, I ended up taking my first MMA fight. I think it was 2011, yeah.
2011.
Yeah.
And how did that go? How was the first fight? What was it like walking in the ring for the first time?
Scary as shit, for
Yeah.
sure. I was scared. I was training, and then I was just I was going against a full the kid's name was Derek Shorey. He was actually a veteran as well.
Yeah.
And so he was a prime Marine. I remember he had these big chops, and I was an 18-year-old kid, and I was like, oh shit, this got real, So I got in there. He ended up taking me down. We stood back up to my feet. I caught him when he stood back to the feet with that right hand. I dropped him, took his back, won, and that's probably one of the biggest highs I've ever had in my entire life is winning my first MMA fight. It's there's nothing else. You can win other sports, but winning a fight, and when you're fighting,
it's all you.
It's all me, and it was just super. I was addicted. I was, you know what I mean? It's like a drug from there on.
That
And
was it.
after that, I wanted to do nothing else, and so I didn't go to college. So
and you took a job in construction.
Yeah, so
to keep yourself local.
Yeah, I kept exactly. So my dad always says either you work with your brain or you work with your back. So I wasn't the most academic kid. I played sports all the way through high school. That's all I really cared about. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just fight and do construction. So that's what I did. I was working construction in Boston, installing solar panels, doing whatever jobs I could just so I can train. Realizing that that's exhausting. Waking up at 5 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, getting to Boston, freezing your ass off all day, then getting home and then training. So I did that for a year and a half, 2 years after I graduated, and I kind of slowly realized
Hey, there was another Connor who did that.
Yeah, exactly.
McGregor, he was a plumber.
He's a plumber, exactly.
And he came home after being an apprentice, and he did the same thing as you. He went to train.
Yeah, exactly. And I did. It was good. It was good. It taught me mental grit. You know what I mean? You just to power through and do it. And it sucked, but you got to do what you got to do.
So you had an amateur career. You were 4-2.
Yeah, 4-2. I took like 3 fights home local, and that's I also was taking kickboxing and boxing. When I was an amateur, I would just take whatever kind of matches I could possibly get. So, but for MMA, I originally took 3 MMA fights. One, I got knocked out pretty quick. It was like my 2nd or 3rd fight. I went to go touch gloves with the guy, and he threw a head kick and knocked me out. That was pretty embarrassing, but you know, fun in the whole camp. And then did a couple more. But my parents started to get on me again to be like, all right, man, what are you doing with your life? You know what I mean? Like, you need to figure out what you're going to do. So they kind of started looking at the military. And so that's when I ended up talking to the Air Force. And originally I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. And then I decided, like, you know, because I saw, like, all the cool shit Navy SEALs did. Was that movie that came out back then? I think it was Act of Valor. Act of Valor came out. So I was like, oh, that looks like a freaking cool job. So I went to a Navy recruiter. He started, like, you know, pushing me around to like maybe you should do this job, maybe you should do that job. I was like, nah, man, I want to be a Navy SEAL. I want to do the legit job, you know? And he wasn't really giving it to me. So I walked across the hall to the Air Force recruiter, and the Air Force like set me down, like, hey, we got a job for you. It's called pararescue. So I was like, I looked at it, like, yeah, you got to be really good in the water. So I started training for that, you know, while I was doing MMA. So I was already in good shape, you know, I was already doing all that stuff. So all I had to do is get my swimming up and stuff. And I took the test, passed it. And then the guy who gave me the test was like, he was like, so you want to save people or do you want to kill people? So pararescue, they're like, you know, they save people. And then the combat controllers was the job I did, is we drop bombs at people. So he's like, you want to save people or you want to kill people? And I was like, I guess I want to kill people. And he's like, all right, I'm putting you in as a combat controller. I was like, all right. So I did that. 6 years as a combat controller. 3 of those were training. I got 1 deployment to Afghanistan. So that was good. I get to do that whole thing. Learned a lot about myself in the training, pushed academically, and I was pushed really hard physically. So even though I didn't train too much in those 6 years, but it just made me a stronger, better person because I got challenged in all different things. I didn't think I was going to get challenged. So, you know, when I came back into fighting later on, it just made me so much mentally stronger and just like disciplined, exactly. It was a good thing. So after I got done with got home from Afghanistan, I was a little weird, you know. I don't know, PTSD or whatever it was. Wasn't myself.
A transition from military life into civilian life.
Yeah, exactly. I just wasn't myself. So I did what I always did growing up. Whenever I had something, like when I played hockey and I was all lost. When I went into martial arts, I've done this my whole life. When I was a little kid and I got lost, I just go back to martial arts. So basically what I did, I was like kind of lost. So I went back into martial arts, started training, and I just realized like, holy shit, I'm getting really good, really fast. Way better than I thought I would ever be. So started taking fights at the end of my military career. Went to take 3 more amateur fights. I won 2, I lost 1, I got knocked out, I had the flu, I got knocked out, shouldn't have took that fight, did that. And then after I got done with that, I was gonna move home, move back to Lauzon MMA, train at Joe Lauzon where I kind of grew up, and took my first professional MMA fight. So
yeah, the first professional.
Yeah.
You won that very quickly.
Yeah, 7 seconds.
7 seconds.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, I take those when you can get them.
Did you break a sweat?
Probably in warm-ups, but yeah, not in the fight.
Not in the fight.
No, it was a good one, yeah. Caught him coming in quick, and just hit him with the right hand, step back right hand, and I just dropped him. So, you know, 7's my lucky number, so that's pretty good. And so I hit him, knocked him out, and that was good win. Had a couple. It was nice when I first came back. You know, the ball was rolling. You know, I was coming off wins for the amateurs and the pros, and everything was going good up until that freaking pandemic happened. So
Did you have to make a big decision whether you wanted to leave the military? Were you going to re-enlist?
I thought about re-enlisting, yeah. It was big, yeah.
Because you had a lot of friends. I see pictures of you and your...
Still love all my military friends, all my stuff. All my special operations guys. I mean, that's the best community. That's another thing for me. It's hard to leave that community once you get into it because going to war with your friends, and it's a cool job. You get to jump out of planes, scuba dive.
Family.
Yeah, it's family. So it was a hard decision to make the decision to get out, but like I just knew how much I love fighting, and I just needed to chase this dream. I feel like I did what I needed to do in the military, and I needed to chase my dreams.
Do you keep in touch with your military
all
friends?
The time? Yeah, I still talk to them.
Did they meet you at fights when you were somewhere? Maybe
yeah, they come to my fight. My last fight, I had a couple of military friends fly out. That didn't happen because the kid didn't show up. Yeah. But unfortunately, but yeah, they're always reaching out. Even other military members, like. Especially with social media now, everybody's like can see what you're doing, and a lot of people have been reaching out. I got a lot of sponsors now from military, like this company We Go Home and Operation Vet Now. definitely keep that connection going. And I'm trying to represent. That's why I call myself the controller. I was a combat controller, and I'm trying to represent my career field because nobody knows what a combat controller is.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like everybody knows what a Navy SEAL is, or an Army Ranger, or a Green Beret, or Special Forces, but nobody knows what a combat controller is. So that's one of the things I'm trying to do right now is just trying to shed some light. Like I'm literally on, like, when we deploy, we're on teams with the Special Forces team, or we're with the Navy SEAL teams, and our only job is to call in the airstrikes on the battlefield, which today's day and age is the most important part of the fight. You know what I mean? Like we have to be able to shoot, move, and communicate, and talk to a plane, and call in bombs, and track everybody that's on the ground.
Everything's critical.
Everything's critical. It's one of the hardest jobs, and so when we show up to teams, we pride ourselves because we're kind of like the little man syndrome. You know what I mean? Like oh, it's the Air Force guy. He's gonna be weak and whatever. So we have this little man syndrome where we show up. We want to be better shooters than the Navy SEALs. We want to be physically stronger. We want to be smarter. We want to be better. And I think
a little trained and good.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why they train us. So that's why it's I think it's probably one of the hardest jobs in the military to do, especially when you get on team. But physically, the pipeline, we call it, which our training regimen, is probably one of the hardest there is.
Wow.
So so I think I'm all about like representing them now, especially in my fighting career.
I see you come out with the
Got
flag.
the flag, yeah. Represent
every fight. So I mean, it's with you for life.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I got the tat and everything, special tactics tat. So it's like, for me, it's a gang. You know what I mean? Like I'm in it, so for life.
So you come back, you had some fights. How long you been training here at Lauzon's?
So I started training here when I was a kid growing up. Like I'd come in at nights and stuff. But since I've been home, I've been all in with at this gym for, I think it's like 2.5 years now. I've been home,
really?
or 3 years now. I've been home. So I
They
work
treat
here.
you good. They train you well.
Yeah, they treat me great. I mean, it's like I said, it's another thing that's like a family to me. It's like I teach here. I teach kids classes. I teach kickboxing here. And Joe Lauzon's been like taking me under my wing for my whole life. So it's like he's the everything to me. You know what I mean?
So you did a lot of kickboxing when you were younger.
Yeah.
But you gave that up for the mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Now, how did you learn the ground game?
So we did, always growing up at Lauzon, we did do a little bit of, I never competed as a kid growing up, but I always trained a little bit of the wrestling, the ground game, the jiu-jitsu part of it.
Yep.
Definitely when I got out to Washington, I had some guys I trained with. My friend Carlos Lozoya, who's a professional MMA fighter. He's actually just moved here now to train with me. He was an Army Ranger. So he helped me out a lot. And then when I came home, Joe is just, Joe's the best when it comes to MMA style. Like there's jiu-jitsu where they wear the uniform and the gi, and then there's like MMA wrestling, which is punching, doing wrestling, jiu-jitsu with gloves on. And I think Joe Lauzon, I mean, you look at his career, he's one of the best, at that. So I was able to, get with him, and then plus my stand-up background, it's been a pretty good
you're
recipe.
definitely a striker, and people know you as that.
Absolutely.
But people are surprised. I listened to some of the commentating, and it's like they're like, wow, this guy has a ground game.
Yeah.
A legit ground game.
Exactly. I just haven't let the people see it yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was trying to finish them out, get them out soon and fast, and then eventually if somebody rises to the challenge, they'll see my ground game. But I'm well-rounded. I got everything.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you need. You got good coaches.
Great coaches.
Great corner people.
So yeah, I got Joe Lauzon, and I was supposed to shout him out. Jake Manini, who is a Muay Thai coach. He works with Calvin Cater, Rob Font, who top level UFC guy, top 5 guys in the UFC. He's my main striking coach now, I would say, for Muay Thai. He's been a huge help for me since I've come home. I've been working with him for about a year and a half.
I watched one of your knockouts, and I had to watch it like 8 times because the punch was so fast and so short.
Yeah.
That I didn't even see it land.
Yeah.
I kept trying to slow it down and stop it, and I kept missing it. And I'm like, you knocked this kid out cold.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about fighting. It's not about the power. It's about timing, and accuracy is more important than power.
Yeah,
so that's catching that guy coming in, hit him in the right time while he's moving in on you, and that's how
it was a devastating shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Tough to see. But I mean, I slowed it down like, there it is. Great shot. So you got your ground game, you got your stand-up strike game.
Yeah.
Now, what's it like leading up to a fight? Like, you're training, you said you do some sparring.
Yep.
And then you stop sparring and you're just working on your mechanics.
Yep.
Your conditioning, staying healthy.
Yep.
So what's that like now? You come in here and...
So fight camps are generally eight weeks, I would say, and then you can't be sparring hard this entire time. We kind of ramp it up as we get closer to the fight, and I would say like 2 weeks out is when I have my hard sparring. You know what I mean? Up until then, like we're sparring, we're just getting in there, but not. And then like 2 weeks out, I stopped because you don't want to take any more traumas to the head. You know, you want to be nice and rested up by the time you get into the cage and you're fighting. You don't want to be going to the fight with injuries you got from sparring. But I have a couple times, before I get to my fights where we come in here and we fight. You know, I got some good guys around here we spar with, and we throw hands in here because you gotta see what it's like. You got to be prepared what you're gonna getting yourself into.
Yeah, otherwise the first contact is gonna devastate you.
Exactly.
You got to be ready for it.
100%.
I remember football was like, wow. If you didn't have contact all week,
yeah,
and then you went into a game, that first hit was like, whoa, a wake-up call.
It is, exactly. And especially with the adrenaline going, when you're fighting, like it's just like, you can't simulate the adrenaline.
No, I'm going to ask you about that. I mean, your adrenaline's pumped.
Right.
But your coach is telling you, relax, calm down, keep your game plan in your head, and don't get away from yourself.
Exactly. That's the hardest part. I mean, I think that there's a lot of guys who are really, really good in the gym and they can do crazy stuff in the gym, but they fold when it comes to being under the lights and on the cage and with the announcers and the crowds around you. And I think one of the things that my military career helped me is staying focused. As we call it, like keeping our world small. So like just focusing on the job at hand. Everything else around you that's going on is actually just bullshit that you can't control. The only thing you can control is yourself in the cage and listening to your coaches, and like you said, listening to the game plan and what you got to do. So I think that's what the military has helped me the most is like I see it so much with my guys I coach now a lot. So fighters, they get freaked out before they get into the cage, but it's about stuff they shouldn't worry about. It's just anxiety. So yeah, I think the military just helped me, especially with like jumping out of airplanes and scuba diving and whatever, combat and all that stuff. You take a step back, you stay calm, and you get the job done. And I think that's one of the reasons I have an advantage on a lot of people when I'm going to fight.
It sounds like an incredible path in the way you stepped it up and you got to this point in your
Wasn't
life.
planned at all, so.
Well, I mean, if you plan it, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, exactly.
When you just step out there and all of a sudden it starts to work, you know it's working, you know it's great. You're 29 years old.
Yeah.
Certainly not a young guy, but
not too old.
Some people might say you're in the prime of your physical life.
I think as a fighter, I am. I think I'm stepping up right. I think if I didn't go into the military and I would have kept on fighting like I planned to do originally, I think I would be like me, either burnt out and got hurt and didn't learn all these other skills that I've learned in the military and I couldn't apply it. So I think that right now I am in my prime. I'm 29 and I feel great. I mean, I roll with guys that are younger than me all the time, and physically, I feel like I'm the top of my. I don't know how long this is going to last for.
People
but I feel
marvel
great.
at the conditioning you got. I mean, I looked at me and Dylan were looking online, and I said, he's built like Julian Edelman.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I'm a big Julian Edelman crush.
Oh,
so it's like
he disciplined and he showed up physically ready to go.
It's like, or Tom Brady's like the nutrition part of your life. It's everything you do. And being a martial artist is not like I feel like a lot of sports you can get away with, partying and not eating right, and then kind of just playing the games, and because you're relying on a team. I'm getting in the cage and it's only me by myself really, and I got my corner and everything, but I got to make sure I'm in tip-top shape and eating healthy and doing the right things.
Well, I think when you know that you've trained properly, it gives you something in the ring.
It does, exactly. Exactly. If you don't do the right things when training, then you're gonna have that self-doubt when you get into the ring, and that's just gonna multiply in your head, and you're gonna not perform well. So I know, like, I just leave it all in the camp. You know what I mean? I leave it all in training. I leave it all in eating right, getting the right amount of sleep. Sleep is huge, especially we talk about that. You see that now in social media. Like everybody's realizing how important sleep is. It's huge. I mean, also got good trainers now. You talk about. I got this guy Mike Perry I work with. He works with Drop Font too. He works with Joe Lauzon. Great coach. So I got my physical strength and conditioning coaches now, and it's funny. And another thing is, like, camp is not as hard as my military training was. Military training, they took away my sleep. They took away my food sometimes. They, you know what I mean? They just grinded you out. So now, as an athlete, I get all that stuff. So all I only have to do is be strong in my training sessions, and I'm already mentally strong from the shit I did in the military. It's easy. You know what I mean? Compared to other people are just, they let that stuff affect them. So.
Yeah. So that everything that's worked up to this point is working in your favor as a mixed martial arts fighter.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's see. How about fight day? Walk us through that. What's it like the day of the fight?
Fight day is way better than weigh-in days. So you have weigh-ins first, all right? So 10 days out, I start like kind of worrying about my weigh-ins, where you start weighing your food and like cutting your calories and like we're not sparring at this point anymore. So it's like we're just like staying sharp on pads, and that's a grind though, because it's like all you want to do is eat food and just you weigh in. But so you do that, and then I weigh in on the day before fight day, obviously. So it's usually have 24 hours of rehydrate. So that by the time the next day, I'm so beat down from camp. By the time I weigh in, get my food, and then I just feel like it's like jet fuel. I swear to God, on fight day, I feel amazing. I feel like I can.
Because your body is craving food and nutrition.
Exactly.
And now you can finally
exactly.
give it.
Now I feel like I can just like run through. Every single time on fight day is my favorite day. I'm ready to go. Like all that. I'm so much more confident on fight day than I am on weigh-in day, which is a weird thing because I think I'm just weak and just.
Do you always make weight, or do you have trouble?
I've never missed weight by an ounce. I'm always exactly on weight. Sometimes they give you a pound, but I don't like to do that because I plan on being a champ someday, and I want to be a champion. You have to be on weight every single day, and I think it just proves something. I don't want to be one of those fighters the UFC looks like they have to worry about this guy missing weight. Or I've always been dead on.
Disciplined, and you come in at the weight you have to come in at.
Exactly.
And that way you don't have to cut too much weight at the very end, which weakens you.
Yep.
And maybe those extra meals and the nutrition you get the day off isn't going to help you.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, a lot of guys do that. They cut right up to the last minute. They get on, they make it by a couple ounces, and they're weak.
Yep, and then they eat bad food. After weigh-ins, they go in and they start eating because they've been craving all that bad shit. So they eat. So you have to be disciplined after weigh-ins too by just eating good, healthy food instead of the shit you want to eat.
Yeah.
I wait till after I get done with the fight.
The celebration is after the fight.
Exactly.
My
favorite thing to do is the day after fight is the morning because I don't like to party after my fights because if you get hit in the head or whatever.
You want to relax a little bit.
let the adrenaline go down. I have a bad from when I was an amateur. I have a bad track record of getting to fights after my fights the night of if I was like drinking or whatever. Put my brother in the hospital one time. Broke my best friend's arm one time. So I chill out now after my fights. But the next day I have a brunch at my house. My mom's a great chef. She makes me pancakes or whatever the hell I want to make, and we just crush it. The next day, mimosas and whatever I want. The next day,
we were big pancake eaters. We used to make them as big as a pan. Sit down and eat pancakes.
I love pancakes too.
So
Crepes are good. The roll-ups.
No, they're good. Okay, so you're fighting. You fought at 150, 154.
Yep.
And now you're saying you're fighting at 145.
Yeah. So amateur, I fought a lot of. I think I fought at 50 a lot, which is a catch weight. Usually it's 145. It's just featherweight. 155. That's lightweight. A lot of times I'm always ready to make 45, and my opponent will ask me, "Hey, can we make 50 or whatever?" I'll do it because I just want to make sure, you know what I mean? I want him to show up because that's a common problem we've been having lately. I want him to show up, so I don't really give a shit. But I mean, for me, I like to make 45 because that's what I want to be when I'm a professional. I'm professional, but when I'm fighting in the UFC, that's the way I want to be. But yeah.
No, a lot of guys bounce around. You don't want to bounce. You want to stick with one weight class.
Yeah, I see. There's the 55ers. I will go up there, I think, eventually, especially if I get older and cutting weight gets harder. But I feel like my height, I think the 45 division is better for me. 55ers, they can come. There's a lot of guys that are like 6 feet tall and 6'1", and they fight down at 55. I'm 5'8", so I think 45 is my natural weight class. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
just 145 is where you're perfect for your build.
Perfect for strength, everything at 40. I can't go lower. Not gonna go. I mean, I probably could make lower if I wanted to, if I really wanted to kill myself. But I don't. At 45 is like it's nice where I want to be for now.
Where you want to be.
Yeah.
That's good. So you're fighting at 145. So your goal is to become a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Now, how hard is that to obtain? I mean, what do you got to do? You got to win a few more big fights to catch someone's attention?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think pumping up my record a little bit. You know, I'm 4-0. I think they want to see guys 5 and 6-0. I think they want to see me. They want to see me fight. Sadly, they haven't. Like all my fights have been like me knocking the guy out in 7 seconds, or just dominate the fight. I think they want to see a back and forth fight between me and another guy.
A
few more rounds, and just see how I react and make sure I'm ready for that level.
Do you ever go in there and knock someone out and say, "Oh man, I should have waited"?
Yeah,
so I had a little bit more.
It's not that I should have waited, but So
it's like scoring a touchdown. Like we left them clock.
Yeah, exactly.
With you, like there's no clock left. That's it. 57 seconds. It's over.
Yeah, exactly. That my Josh Mara fight. I think that was either my third fight. And that fight, that's what I felt like. I was just like, I hit him, I beat him. I was like, fuck. Because I thought he was going to give me, because he had some wins on his, I thought he was going to give me a back and forth fight. I want to have that for myself too.
I want to be challenged.
I want to be challenged. I want the experience of sitting in the cage and exchanging like I do when I'm sparring. So if I drop a guy in front, it's like I'm not satisfied really by beating somebody like that.
quickly.
I get satisfied if it's like a challenge to me that I overcome.
I mean, Tyson did that for years as a boxer. I mean, he just knocked people out quickly. And then he got into some fights and he got into later rounds, and he wasn't experienced there.
Yes, a lot of people know how to be the hammer, but don't know how to be the nail. You know what I mean? If you're always the hammer and you're always used to that, and then that time somebody's giving you some back, you don't know if you're ready. So like that, I see that happen with other fights. You know what I mean? And I want to make sure that I know that I see it in sparring, but I want to know in a fight underneath the lights, like we were saying, that I can.
What it's like to get into later rounds.
Exactly, and I think a lot of people have the best, and the gas tank thing is because if you have a lot of adrenaline going and stuff, you lose your
gas quick.
You gas really quick, and that might happen in the third rounds. You know what I mean? So that you need to get that experience. The only way to build that is doing it and fighting.
You don't want to get there in the most important fight of your life, and now you're in uncharted waters.
100%, exactly, I mean? Yeah.
So, but you're not going to ever intentionally drag a fight.
No.
If it's there for the knockout, you're going to take it.
You got to finish the fights quick because at the end of the day, it takes one punch to get me knocked out.
Yeah.
So one little mess up I have, and then there we go. Now I'm lost, and the UFC doesn't like to see
a loss. So you fought during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Didn't get the number of fights you wanted. You said to me a while ago that you wanted 4 fights a year.
Yeah.
And you weren't getting that.
Exactly. It's been pretty rough. So since I fought pro, 1 year I got knee surgery, so that put me back a couple fights. Then I had the pandemic, right? So that canceled all shows. I got one fight during the pandemic in a tent, no crowd, which was pretty cool. And then since I came after the pandemic, I've only had one fight because I keep getting opponents falling out. So it's been one thing after another.
Well, you had the kid there,
Berberich, last
three
weekend.
Three times.
So first time he pulled out, pandemic, I'll give it to him. Next time he pulled out, he just didn't show up. He told 2 weeks out, he's like, yep, we're going to be there, blah, blah, blah. The promoter of Cage Titans, which is the local league around here, calls me. He's like, hey, man, Berberich didn't get off the plane. So I'm like, I said something to him. I was like, what is there, polar bears in the freaking runway up there? Like, what's going on? Like where is he? And then you just, so they end up getting me somebody else to fill in. But it's like, and then I had to fight up a weight class, and which I don't mind as long as there's somebody to show up. But when you have a schedule, I want to beat guys that that have some wins on their records. I want to beat guys that are going to be the guys we've been training
and challenging.
But it's been a local. My last fight, I had the same thing. Day of weigh-ins, I still weighed in, and the guy didn't show up. And they tried to get me 3 other fighters. They said they were going to show up. I show up the fight day. All just didn't end up showing up, so it's a problem.
So how frustrating is that?
Super frustrating, and I don't really care for myself because I'm a professional fighter and I'm gonna make weight, and I'm used to training camps and I'm used to this shit. So it's not like everybody's like, you put all that work in, and none of my hard work didn't go to waste. I'm gonna carry this on to my next fight or whatever I do. Where I get upset is my family members and my fans and my friends, who everybody shows up to the fight and they don't. And they come here to see me fight, and now I'm wasting money on tickets that they want to see me fight, and I don't get to perform in front of them. That's what makes me frustrated. Yeah. But it is nothing I can do to control.
The UFC would monitor that a little bit 100%. Better.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't happen.
I don't think so. No, I think in the UFC that's gonna they'll
the
find
talent's
somebody.
Up a little bit. People want to fight. People are going to show up. The paydays are bigger.
More money in the line, right?
Yeah.
So the UFC, people are going to show up because when you're making, and MMA, there's not too much money in the sport unless you get to the higher level. So it's like you're making $1,000, $2,000. I mean, is that worth getting your ass kicked for some guys? Probably not. But you know what I mean. When you're making $15,000, $30,000 in a fight, people are going to show up. They don't really give a shit. So
you're ready for the fight. The day before the kid backs out, he doesn't show up for the weigh-in. You know the fight's not going to happen.
Yep.
What do you do? I mean, what do you go home and do you start training the next day? Do you say, okay, I'm just not going to let this bother me?
Kind of what I did. I was frustrated, and I kind of just hopped right back into it for to get myself ready because I'm looking for another show. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I did this time. Is I didn't really take that mentally because I like to have a fight, take a little vacation. Maybe go somewhere, visit from friends, family, to relax for a week or two, and then get back on a camp, get ready for my next fight. But this time, when it keeps happening, I don't do that. So I just kind of, all right, I guess I'm not fighting, so I got to, get back on it, get back to training. So you start ramping those camps back to back. You don't give yourself time to recover. So that's kind of.
No, does Joe help you find another fight?
Yeah, Joe's my manager. So Joe will help me find fights.
Does he say, don't worry, we're going to get some?
Yeah, he's going to get me fights.
So what was it like fighting without a crowd? Because I remember I watch your fights and everybody's going crazy. And then I watched that one fight you had with nobody in, and it was like, we watched a few on TV.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like the the soundtrack to a fight is the crowd.
Yeah. No.
And-
It's like I like the crowd a lot, but fighting with no crowd was actually way easier for me. It's like what I talked about, or the anxiety thing. It's just taking one element out of it. You know what I mean? Like when I have no crowd there, it was just remind me of sparring in the cage. You know what I mean? And I just walked in,
Your
did
focus
my
is
job.
that much.
Yeah. And I could go. It's like, all right, it was cool because I stayed in a hotel. All right, they called me down. All right, I go down, warm up, fight, come out, get my check. Boom, gone home. I was like, this is great. When you're normal fights, you have to deal with all your drunk friends. Like you win your fight, come out, you get paid. Then I have to see all my drunk friends I've been drinking all day to come to my fights. And I'm just like, and I'm sober. And I'm just like, oh, and they come saying the same shit to you over and over and over again. Oh, man, I love how you did that, blah, 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 blah. They're hanging all over you, smelling like alcohol. And you're just like, stressed out. But so I still love it. I love having my friends and my family here. When you win a fight and everybody goes crazy, it's like one of those highs you get. It's just the best thing in the world. Jumping on the cage, seeing your friends in the crowd, it's awesome.
It's a quick jump.
Oh yeah.
It's like the Lambeau Leap. You guys do. You jump right up there. You climb up there, and
adrenaline's
I was
crazy,
watching
man.
one of your fights last night, and I'm like, yeah, I'd fall right over. I'd hurt myself. How'd you get hurt?
I'm worried about that sometimes. You're going right over the other side.
Because you're so excited.
Yeah.
You jump up there. All right, so here you are. You're here. You got a nice place to train. You got great coaches.
Yep.
Yeah, you're in physical marvel. I mean, you're perfect for this sport.
Well, thank you.
You are. I mean, we watch you and we're like, wow, you're just fluid, and you're limber, and you're strong at the same time, and you're quick hands, ground game's great.
Yeah.
So where do you want to be in 3 years?
In 3 years, I want to be top 10 in the UFC. That's my target right now, top 10. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there's a long road ahead of me for that, but I need to get that initial step of just getting to the UFC, and then that's when the ladder really starts. It doesn't start. I don't want to be one of these guys that are just like, oh, he fought in the UFC 1 or 2 fights, had a couple losses, bumped out, and then now, I want to be a guy who's like a known martial artist in the UFC. I want to be a top 10. And I think some people think that about me. I don't know if they think this, but that's what I feel like. Oh, he's just a military guy that kind of does MMA. No, I'm a true full-fledged martial artist that I've been fighting karate tournaments since I was a little kid, and then I did boxing and MMA. I've done everything.
This is in your blood.
It's in my blood, and this is what I love to do. So I want to prove that I'm a full-fledged, well-rounded martial artist that's going to, stand in the UFC and be somebody that's going to be a problem, hopefully until, my later 30s. That's what I would like to do.
Hey, you can look at guys like Tom Brady and other athletes. People are going longer now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like I'm a baseball guy, and I start looking at stats. You see guys at 31, 32, back in the 60s, they're done.
Yeah.
Now, 31, 32, you're not done playing baseball or football. You're playing a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So in your sport, it probably was an advantage that you were in the military.
Yeah.
You didn't have all that physical abuse that you get if you were putting in all these crazy rounds. So physically, you're in better shape than a lot of guys.
Yep.
Maturity.
Exactly.
You've got the maturity, and you got the strength that you get as you get older.
Exactly.
And at the same time, you got the military training.
Exactly.
That has kept you focused, disciplined, and you can handle the setbacks.
Yep. Exactly.
I mean, a lot of guys can't handle setbacks.
Oh, yeah, I'm the king of setbacks, man. I've been doing setbacks since I was a kid. They should call me two-time Matthews because, it takes me. I never get shit done the first time. It always takes me 2 times, and that's okay. I'm okay with that though, because I know that I'm gonna fix my problems and come back stronger. And even in the military, I have schools. The hardest schools, I did them twice because I failed it the first time. I had to go re-attack them, do them again. But I know that was the hardest thing I ever had to do. But it made me stronger. So I know that I'm not scared about. If I lose, I don't want to lose a fight, and I'm never going to try. But if I lost a fight, I don't give a shit. I'm going to come back stronger and better because I know, at the end of the day, that's Muhammad Ali. Everybody called him the greatest fighter of all, but he lost fights too, and he came back and he won those fights, and that's the most important thing.
How about Foreman when he beat Michael Moorer?
Yeah, exactly.
He was already an older guy. He came back and he focused. He stayed focused.
Exactly.
And knocked him out.
Exactly.
So I mean, age 29, 35, 36, 37.
Yeah, that's where I think I want to be a guy. I mean, guys are still winning. I see one of my friends, Chris Montino's in the UFC, is fighting a guy who's 42 coming up. So
really?
that's all. And this is at 135. So it's like a lot. I know there's a lot of actually a guy who just won the UFC title. I think he was 41. Texera, he was 41. I'm pretty sure, right? So yeah. So I mean, you can do the sport if you're if you know tactically. Obviously, I'm going to lose a little bit of athletic ability, but
I think what happened, like with the baseball example,
Yeah.
a lot of guys let the age scare them into retirement.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna let that happen.
No.
Because you know how you feel.
Exactly.
And that's where you go with how you feel.
You might have to adjust things that you do. You know what I
bit,
mean? I'm
yeah.
not going to be hitting the most athletic things. I'm going to have to be more tactically, bringing people into deeper rounds, maybe tiring guys out. But I'm mentally stronger than these young kids that have all this anxiety and no experience. My plan is to have more experience later on in my career, you know, and be able to deal with these problems.
Well, it sounds to me like you're gonna do it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think you got some fans right here in this room, and people are going to see this and going to have a lot more fans. It's a great story. You're a hard worker. You've got a great attitude, and how much of it's attitude? A lot of it.
It is all attitude.
It's all attitude.
It's all positive energy, man. Like I say that you can be negative at things, you be positive. And positivity breeds more positivity. So you just need to put that out there, and you'll get it in return eventually, hopefully.
You will. You will. It always,
I think.
It always comes from people who try to work hard.
Yeah.
Hard workers always get what they look for.
Yeah.
And you're a hard worker.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you
guys.
for letting us in here. It's a great gym. We had a great time. It's great to hear about you. We're going to be following you closely.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully your next fight will be closer and we can all show up.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's in New England, so we'd love to have you guys there. It'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, thanks.